I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning Commission to order. It's Thursday, October 17th, 2024. I've asked Member Little to offer a word of prayer, and then if you'll all rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we are grateful for thy blessings to be a part of this community. Grateful for all those who are here, and thank thee, Father, for help to we could plan and prepare. And may we do so in a pleasing manner unto thee, and that we can work together. Thank thee for this moisture, and thank thee for this opportunities, the opportunity we have to work together and to gain a better understanding of how a community should come together, and we pray for thy help in these things we say. In thy name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item is the approval of the agenda. I have a motion to approve.
Moved.
I have a motion by Member Little and a second by Member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Declaration of any conflicts of interest with any item on the agenda by the Planning Commission. Okay, seeing none, move on to our public comment portion. We have 2 administrative items. There will not be a public hearing with either one of these items, so if you wish to speak on either one of these items, now will be your chance to do so. And so if you'd like to come up to the lectern and state your name. And you can also address the Planning Commission on any other topic if you have something. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on.
Hold on.
Oh. Sorry about that. On anything, yep. So you could state your name for the record.
My name is Randy Hill. I live adjacent to the proposed Warner property amendment, and I just wanted to state my objections to it. My grounds for the objections are that this proposal creates a landlocked lot, property. It's going to have no street front property save just the width of a driveway, and I believe that's inconsistent. Doing that's inconsistent with the quality and the aesthetics of the existing neighborhoods, both in Rollins Ranch and the Warner Acres, and it will create the property that's being created will forever have some diminished value because of that. It doesn't have any street access or frontage, at least, and never have any curb appeal because it will never have a curb, and it's going to create, in effect, although probably not a huge amount, but it will have a diminishing effect on the immediate neighborhood around it. It also diminishes the value of the property that they're taking it out of. Obviously, it's dividing that property, and that's going to diminish that value. But it'll also, the plan is to turn the backyard of that house, the old Paul Warner house, into basically a driveway for the new house that's going to be built there. So you diminish the value of 2 properties, and I believe forever it'll have an impact on the surrounding neighborhood. And I just don't think that it should be approved for those reasons.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments? Okay, we will move on to agenda item number 6, public meeting, discussion decision, Paul Warner subdivision, number 2 plat amendment.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission. This item on our agenda is for application 24.045. The applicant being Darren Peterson, the agent of whom is present in the audience tonight, Madam Chair. And the location of the property is approximately 5846 North Warner Acres Drive. The acreage of the property as it currently is platted is 1.38 acres. The current zoning on the property is residential, denoted as R120. And the general plan and the applicable future land use map has this designated as village low density residential. The request for tonight, Madam Chair, is for approval of an amendment to the Paul Warner subdivision for the creation of a new lot, which is identified by the parcel number and serial number located in your meeting packet, and is located in the Mountain Green area. The staff has conducted a full review of the requested plat amendment and has found in aspects of grading and drainage and utility as reviewed by the secondary county engineer. Full reviews done by, actually 2 full review cycles having been done by the county surveyor, the county engineer, and planning staff. Find that this request meets the minimum code requirements, and as such staff is recommending approval. The flag lot ordinance was approved and adopted by ordinance earlier this year, and those standards as contained in that ordinance were part of this review, Madam Chair, and specifically for the flag lot ordinance, this proposal meets all of the standards for development herein. And again, staff is happy to answer questions, Madam Chair. I yield my time. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
So Jeremy, talk to me about this driveway, if you will. Tell me what.
Well, for a flag pole, it would be the pole portion, and the minimum width is 50 feet per the flag lot ordinance.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's the length of a.
It's
private.
26 feet. So
20 yeah.
the width of a flag, required frontage for a flag lot is 26 feet. It meets the 26-foot width for frontage on the street. The pole can be all the way up to 750 feet long, depending on the property that it's at. It is far shorter here, obviously.
My question is, by dividing this lot, does it make it similar size to the rest of the remaining lots?
It meets the required amount of acreage for the R120 zone.
Yeah, the only standard is 20,000 square feet minimum, and both of the lots that are created would meet that minimum standard.
You know, a lot of the lots in the subdivision are 20,000 square
So
feet.
it's
Josh, would you go to the First Amendment plat? Could you zoom into lot 1314, please? So there's a well protection zone. Did the well ever get put in?
It's on a culinary system.
The well is, it does not matter for these lots because they're not connected to the well. These lots all connect to either Highland Water or Cottonwood. I don't
It
remember.
says Cottonwoods right here, Cottonwood
Oh.
Mutual Water.
Thank you. So all of the lots have connected to that. If that well protection zone is still there, that was probably for the original well that might be on the property. I don't.
There
think
is
it's-
yes,
That statement in the staff report may be correct. It actually should be Highlands Water.
it is Highlands.
Okay, it says Cottonwood on here.
But it's in an older well.
Yeah, there it says Highlands. Up there it says Cottonwood Mutual Water.
Then also on the flagpole ordinance, could you go to that one?
That's an
Flag
exhibit.
The code, flag lot.
Exhibit A.
E, Echo.
It has to do with the calculation of the square footage of the lots. I think it's number 5.
That's correct. That doesn't affect the calculation in this case.
Why?
Why? Because the total of both lots is 1.38 acres, which is nearly 1.5 acres, which is nearly 60,000 square feet. Both lots, even if you subtract out the pole, will be more than 20,000 square feet.
Read number 5 for me, please, Josh.
I wrote it, so I know what it says.
It says the flagpole portion shall not be included in the calculation of the square footage of the lot. It is.
I get that. I wrote it.
So
Both
it should
lots.
be changed to
No.
calculate the square footage of the second lot.
Okay, we took that into account. The
I
second
understand
lot.
it meets code because it's R20, but the second lot would only be 28,000 square feet instead of 32-ish. Or 20.
Regardless, it's still more than 20,000
I
square
understand
feet.
that. I'm not having an issue with it ultimately.
Right.
because
When we
this is what our code
calculated
is.
it, we took out the pole.
I don't think so.
On the plat, it has to denote the total acreage. But when staff did our calculations,
Okay.
we made sure that
Understand the
without the
difference there.
pole, yeah. So the plat isn't going to pull out that acreage,
Yeah.
but when we did our internal calculation, it definitely meets the 20,000. Does that clarify?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Any more questions for staff or the applicant?
To me, it's the
Requirement. Okay, if, any discussion then among the planning commission?
I just agree with the public comment, but basically I feel that our hands are tied with the new ordinance, that it meets all the standards, and for us to not give a positive recommendation, there's no justifiable reason.
This is,
This is an administrative item. It's a
Check the box.
Check the box.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Yeah, it cannot be denied as long as it meets the minimum code requirements, and it does.
could you scroll down to the recommendation section?
for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move we recommend approval of county commission to the county commission of the Paul Warner subdivision number 2 amendment, plat amendment application number 24.045, approximately located at 5846 North Warner Acre Drive near Mountain Green, based on the findings listed in the staff report dated October 17, 2024.
I have a motion by member Bishop. Do I have a second? Second by member Wilson. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Thank you. So we're ready for agenda item number 7. This is the Gilgan Kennel. Do we have
Um,
any questions?
Yep, we are currently opening a Teams meeting so that Garrett can join us
Okay.
remotely. It'll be probably just a minute or two.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next item on our agenda is application 24.059. This is the Gilgan Kennel CUP. The property address is 1529 North Morgan Valley Drive, with the parcel number and serial number as found in your meeting packet. The zoning designation for this property is a split zone designation of rural residential 1 acre minimum, RR1, and agriculture, A20. The request is for approval of a conditional use permit with the C2 approval authority designation, meaning it's approved by the Planning Commission tonight. That is required for a kennel. The applicant submitted an application and staff reviewed that application and found that an application was needed per the definition from our code for a request for 3 dogs located at the home and the site of the property. And with the property being split zoned, the staff has reviewed and found that this meets the minimum requirements of our code. When it comes to split zoning, staff has consulted with the Office of the County Attorney and actually Commissioner McConnell from the County Commission, and found that property owners are able to enjoy the entitlements from both zoning designations. And when that comes to the land use table, in this case where in RR1 it would not be permitted, but in A20 it is permitted, they can have this use as allowed on their property, and the zoning administrator, with his designation being C1, the level below C2, has reviewed this and found that this is an acceptable use on a property that is split zoned. And when it comes to a conditional use permit, of course, which is administrative also in nature and cannot be denied, the purpose for the discussion tonight is to meet the intention of the state code 10-9A-507 pertaining to conditional uses, and I quote, "A conditional use shall be approved if reasonable conditions are proposed or can be imposed to mitigate the reasonably anticipated detrimental effects of the proposed use in accordance with applicable standards," close quote. So the Planning Commission tonight is here to discuss reasonable conditions to mitigate reasonably anticipated detrimental negative effects. There's a similar application from 2022 where a split designation was also present. Staff recommended approval for that kennel CUP and is also recommending approval for this request tonight. The staff is happy to answer questions. I yield my time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any questions for staff?
Yeah, so that's, for personal use, you need a permit.
That's my
Explain the
feelings.
2-dog limit for household pets.
So our code in this instance is kind of ridiculous. This is not the first time we've had to do this for a property owner. Our code says you're allowed 2 household pets,
Dogs,
dogs.
5
Right.
cats.
Thank you. Yeah, 2 dogs, 5 cats. Any more than that, and it's classified as a kennel.
I wrote this as stupid on my notes.
You said it, and I agree wholeheartedly. The code needs to change. We should change it. However, she has the split zone property.
Does the split zone property matter?
It does matter because if the property was just zoned rural residential 1 acre,
Yep,
it wouldn't be allowed at all.
to have 3 dogs.
Correct.
That is correct. However, since her property is split zoned, the entitlements apply for both zones. So in this case, the conditional use permit is allowed, but I hope we can get the code changed. But I can't direct or.
How do you feel if it was just A1 or even smaller and still have 3 dogs for personal use?
I don't think we should put a limit on personal use. I don't know. I mean, if somebody wants to have 5 dogs and they're just all their personal dogs, they're not breeding them, they're not selling them, they're not keeping them. It's just, they're just pets. I don't know. We have animal control and we have nuisance laws that handle odor and noise and other issues like that. So code enforcement could handle the issues that might come up from that. But right now, our code says what it says.
And Josh, remember that one day I was asking you if I could have a cow at my house? So I can have a cow at my house, but not 3 dogs in our code.
Depending on the size of your lot.
Or cow.
She can. You remember the code got changed to add agriculture and half-acre zone, and there's no definition
away
of
large
number of
animals.
animals.
It took away large animals.
When we
No,
looked
no,
under
it
what
didn't.
I
It put
was
it back in.
on,
No, for family food production, it
Yeah.
took out the large.
But just
in
as a pet.
in the general use table, if we get in there, it's
Yeah,
agriculture is allowed, and agriculture has,
but agriculture has a definition, and so
and it doesn't limit the animals.
true, but you have to be using it for agriculture purposes. And having 1 cow on your property isn't necessarily using it for agriculture purposes.
do you remember that day when I first started? I was really excited because you're like, Josh, you're telling me. Anyway, side note, I'm just saying our code says that we can have cows, but not 3 dogs, so I just
It
wanted
is-
to
it
point
is-
that out.
And I've talked with Josh, and we can maybe direct staff at the end of the meeting to fix the household pet situation. But, yeah. No, we didn't see that. Well, no. When we were doing the kennels, we were thinking of actual kennels in the. that's why-
Like breeding or boarding kennels. You
Exactly.
weren't thinking 3 pets, 3 Yorkies or.
Right, but the code says household pets over a certain number, flip it into kennel.
And it uses the term in the definition for kennel, keeping.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
even if you're keeping the animals, it's considered a kennel.
Yeah.
So there is some word changes that should probably occur.
Any comments, Andrew?
The only thing that comes to my mind is, I know that they say we have code enforcement. I've had personal experience with dogs, when I call, there's not much done. Nobody really cares.
I see
I
animal
care.
control driving up and down my street all the time. I'm shocked. You must have nothing better to do.
Took personal exception to it.
I almost ran over.
And Garrett, you're there? Maybe?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so just to clarify, on the split zone, it doesn't matter where the kennel is, if the kennel is in the RR1 or the A20 portion of the split zone?
That's how it's been applied in the past. So, for example, if someone has split zoning and it's RR1 and RR5, but they don't have a full acre in the RR1, they're still allowed to have those setbacks. That's how it's been applied in the past. And so I think it would be consistent to allow that split zoning to allow that option, or amend the code and clarify it for the future.
Okay, because I had this discussion with Josh, the way this is set up, if there's a little bit of A20 on a lot, and let's say the lot's an acre and a half, you could technically have a gravel pit, because gravel pits are allowed in A20. If that's how we're interpreting the code.
Yeah, I guess maybe Josh could speak a little bit more to that. And does this application, do they have 20 acres? Do they have acreage in the B20 that is the 20 acres?
No, they don't have the 20 acres, but there's nothing in our code that says you have to have 20 acres on split zone property. In fact, the only thing our code regulates when it comes to split zoned is depending on where you put your house dictates what setbacks you use. The other thing to note is that our zoning map is not 100% accurate in any way, shape, or form. So where those lines are in some cases subject to interpretation one way or the other. In fact, our zoning map has a disclaimer stating that it's not accurate. So land use law, if you have split zone property based on our code and what's in our code, you have the entitlements of both. And if I were to even try to enforce a kennel keeping their dogs in one area versus another, that's a enforcement nightmare. So that's why I've made the interpretation that I have based on our code and what's in there.
I do think that's how it's been applied, but that application in the situation or the hypothetical that you gave could lead to unreasonable situations, and so it could need a clarification in the code one way or the other. But as far as how it's been applied currently to this situation, I don't think it's unreasonable to follow the staff recommendation. If there is a request for a text amendment, I would like to weigh in on that as well, just because I deal with a lot of the dog bite cases, and I still think that there may be some reasonable conditions that can be placed on, even if there was some sort of CUP to allow it. Maybe it just wouldn't be disallowed in certain areas like it is in the current code, but that doesn't mean to take off all CUP processes that you could mitigate reasonably anticipated detrimental effects. So just my thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you.
It talks about a kennel license for household pets.
She-
Because she meets the definition of a kennel,
I understand. So she needs a license in addition to a CUP?
yeah, I think the kennel license is issued by animal control, if I remember correctly.
Okay. I agree the code definitely needs to be changed, so. Oh, yeah. But I appreciate the applicant trying to comply with code. Come on, can you come up, Lisa?
I don't even have outside kennels. My property is completely fenced and my dogs live in the house. So I don't even have them outside. So just, they are house dogs.
I don't think anybody's worried about that here.
Okay.
Thank
But
you.
just to let you know, with the split part,
Is your house on the A20 side or the A1 side?
it's on the
Oh, it's the R1.
Oh,
It's
sorry,
up-
RE1.
How much land do you have?
It's like 1.75 acres.
So large lot.
Yeah.
How did you hear about this code and needing to apply?
Because if you want to license your dogs with the county, it says right there, if you have more than 2 dogs, you have to have a kennel license.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's no more discussion. Ready for a motion?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the Gilgan Kennel CUP application number 24.059 to allow for a kennel at the property located at 1525 North Morgan Valley Drive in unincorporated Morgan County, based on the findings with the conditions listed in the staff report dated October 17th, 2024.
We have a motion by Member Maloney. Have a second.
Second.
A second by Member Little. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Okay, thank you. Now we move on to business and staff questions. For those of you that just came in, are you looking for the city council? This is the Morgan County Planning Commission. It started at 6:30.
It's the wrong date.
It was, but yeah, it's done. So, does staff have anything for us?
No, I don't have anything.
So our meeting next week was just moved up to this week is all? So
That's
no meeting
correct.
next week?
Yeah, there's no meeting next week. The next meeting will be November 14th, I believe. Yeah, 14th. Currently, we have the Mount Wilkinson Cottonwood Development Agreement Amendment, which was continued to that date. We have the Airport Overlay Zone text amendment, which Commissioner McConnell wanted on there. He was hoping to have that completed by the end of the year. I believe there's between one and four plat amendments. Yeah, the other three might be on there if they can get us the stuff. So it'll be between 1 and 4 plat amendments that'll be on there. And then what was the date of the Christmas
And
thing?
that's the only meeting.
Yeah, that's the
That's
only
the only
meeting in
meeting,
November.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Christmas party or dinner is December 12th.
Yeah, so it's basically an appreciation Christmas dinner that we have with the Planning Commission every year. You're allowed to bring your +1, whoever that is.
So if you could RSVP to Judy.
Yeah, and it'll be that's December 12th. And we don't hold. We have our meeting that night, and we hold the meeting in here. But the dinner is typically held before in the auditorium just down the hall.
Regarding that airplane or airport overlay zone that you just mentioned from Commissioner McConnell wanting to get that done, I know you were out last week. That was a big point of discussion for the conditional use permit. So would that affect that property?
No. So that property is it's unique because it's adjacent to the airport. It has access. It has access to their hangar, and they have an easement that allows them to access the runway. That property is commercial buffer along with the entire rest of the airport. There aren't a lot of other commercial buffer zones. I think one of the worst subdivisions that we have, I don't know if I should call it a subdivision because it was never recorded, is also commercial buffer, and there's a lot of industrial grade type developments in there.
Peterson has commercial buffer too.
Yeah, commercial. Peterson does?
Mm-hmm.
No, I wasn't aware of that.
And that was our concern. We were wondering about incorporating that parcel, because it's so unique and specific, into the airport overlay, so that all they have to do is comply with the airport overlay
Okay.
zone and not change the code.
Right. So the only thing that the airport overlay zone text amendment is doing, it's moving the location of the airport overlay zone board from Title 15 and putting it in Title 3, where the other boards are listed, and it's changing it from, I think it's currently an 8-member or 7-member board or something like that, to a 3-member board.
So mainly just the board.
It's mainly just the board. There's a few other small things in there, but I don't remember it changing a lot. It really shouldn't. The amendment really shouldn't be in Title 15 because I don't think it's land use related. It's more board related. So I'm recommending it be removed from Title 15 so I don't have to enforce it going forward. But that's pretty much the essence of that text amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not really addressing the land use aspect of it.
You'll see our recommendation when it comes before the
Yeah.
county commission.
No, I heard about it.
But we're not opposed to it, but we just think it'd probably be easier to do that.
With Peterson and other subdivisions, just, yeah.
Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion about directing staff to fix the household pets situation?
I will be on that naughty list. Extra code.
Add to your list.
Yeah. Well, some will receive preferential treatment.
I was telling Maddie that I know people in my neighborhood that are not in compliance.
Throughout the county.
Yeah.
And is there a combination? What if I have 2 dogs and 4 cats?
You're good.
You know, that's just as bad, right?
Or what about chickens?
Chickens are allowed family food production, and that can even be in R18.
What if they eat their dogs?
The chickens eat
Just
the
kidding,
dogs.
that was a bad hypothetical.
Springfield?
Sorry. Gravel.
I'll avoid voicing political commentary from the pulpit, podium or whatever.
Just a rabbit hole is all I'm saying.
Well, that was dangerous for Alice.
But is there a limit that we should imply or enforce?
What I'll end up doing is pulling code from other jurisdictions and see what they're doing and see if it makes sense.
You may need a conditional use permit for some household pets if you're, once you reach a certain level, but
You
I mean,
don't want a
6
hoarder
dogs?
next to you of animals
No,
either.
no, no. I know people have pigs as pets.
yes.
I can understand wanting kennels on larger lots. There's a lot of negative impacts that can come from a real kennel. But to have household pets that you have to register and have a kennel license, I think that's ridiculous.
Madam Chair, I move we direct staff to amend or come with a code text amendment for the code regarding
Household pets.
household pets.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion by Member Bishop. Is there a second? A second by Member Wilson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Anything else?
I'm curious. I know I sound like beating a dead horse, but I'm curious about what's going on with Round Valley. Have you heard anything on what they're doing or what they're
It's sold.
Yeah, from what I've heard, Round Valley sold. It wasn't just Round Valley. I thought it was some.
Rivala.
Yeah. So. Yeah, my understanding is it's sold. I haven't heard anything from the developers for a while. I know that they'd hired land use attorneys to argue that they still had entitlements, and, but I hadn't heard anything. And then I just heard last week that it had sold.
Is it something
The golf course?
You know who bought it?
I don't know who bought it. I know
Sorry.
somebody told me the name, but
I
Tony Curtis, the actor, from. No, I'm just kidding.
well, we'll wait till we're.
The golf course. The golf course area, though.
Mhm.
That's
Yes,
Okay.
and the hotel sold too.
What hotel?
Cobblestone in town.
Oh yeah, yeah, I heard. Yeah, I heard.
I know I'm a jerk and I showed up late and I'm really sorry. I was
That's
trying
fine.
really hard to get out of the OR. But I will say, and this is a good question for you, because I know we talked about the area plans being a part of the general plan, and you were saying we want to make them front and center, not just an appendices, so they're usable. On Friday, Dustin and I had a great conversation with Bruce, our consultant for the county.
Bruce is technically Mark Miller's consultant, and he's subcontracting to help us with Night Springs Ranch.
Okay, regardless, there was just a point made of who made it, and I've also heard this as well in commission meetings and just reading, that when something is a part of the general plan, then developers do have rights to say, hey, this is in your general plan, so I want my land rezoned this way. So I guess my concern with the variance, especially the high density, and I'm really sorry, again, I couldn't find it. Was our meeting at 5 recorded? I was trying to listen to it on YouTube while I drove here.
It's not on YouTube, but it is recorded.
Yeah,
But
we
they
can
can-
YouTube it.
We can get it to you, yeah, they can get
Okay.
you a link.
Anyway, I was trying to listen to it while I drove here, so I don't ask stupid questions. But so I couldn't. So I guess when I was looking at the like mountain residential, a lot of that land is over 25% grade, and it talked about 1/4 acre to 3+ acre lots. Knowing a lot of that land is that high of grade, and B, a lot of that land is currently zoned MU 160, RR1. There's even some ag land in there, and we have over 4,000 lots that are already buildable in the county. Let's say that's 12,000 people.
No, there's more than that.
Yeah. Okay. And you have all of these development agreements that were listed, and it says, you know, these developers are allotted this many lots, no basin, 0 have been built on, all these things. It seems like if we do that, and that really is the case in the general plan, we're going to go from MU 160 agriculture RR1 to now 1/3 acre lots. That will be insane density in areas that are, you know, very, what's the word? Geography. I think we've had a lot of slide issues in a lot of that land, as well as, yeah, it's just over 25% grade.
Was there?
Dear-
Josh was saying you
Question?
can't develop on over 25% grade.
Anyway, so it doesn't matter what
So my question is, so when we were talking last time, you said this is just, it's not enforceable. If it's in the general plan, it's just in the general plan. But I've heard on the other side.
The general plan is not enforceable if you are talking about entitlements. The general plan, our general plan is discretionary,
Okay,
which means that if somebody comes in and they want to rezone property that we have shown in the general plan to be commercial and they want commercial, then it's probably a good idea legally to rezone that. But based on development patterns, if let's say the general plan doesn't show commercial, but surrounding development patterns are kind of leaning towards that or creating a buffer between commercial and low density residential, the county commission doesn't have to follow what's in the general plan. They don't. The legislative power gives them the opportunity and the power to rezone property.
As long as they come up with a finding, any finding.
Any fine.
okay.
And they can also deny it. So if
They
somebody
deny
comes
it with
in-
a finding.
Right.
They don't think it's appropriate or not the right time.
Totally, I guess, but to your point, that first comment you made about being legally, oh, we probably should do this. So for example, if my house, currently I'm on 1.3 acres and this was approved, and now I could go to a 1/3 acre, I could come in and request a flag lot behind my house.
It's true, you could.
And that's, I'm just.
If
being
your zoning
trans-
allowed it.
In this new, if this was passed and it was saying, okay, mountain area is a 1/3 acre or a 1/4 acre to 3+ acres.
That's not correct. The area plan is discretionary, like the general plan. So right now, we have a general plan, and all the area plans have been adopted and put into the appendices of the document. It is all discretionary. The only thing that gives you the right to do anything with your property right now is the zoning on your property. That's it. So if your zoning is 820, but the general plan shows commercial, you have the 820 entitlements, period. That's it.
But you could come forth and say, hey,
Yeah,
this
you
is in
could.
the general plan, and legally maybe have more of a case. That's all I'm saying.
You would have an argument, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the county commission has to approve.
They could say it's spot zoning just to have this one lot in the middle of a subdivision.
Yeah, and I'm
With
not
the-
talking about one lot. I'm talking about that's a large area that you're going to
The
take
whole-
from RR1 to now allowing 1/4
But-
acre to 3 acre.
But it's not.
Okay.
And I think there's a disconnect here. You have zoning, which gives you your entitlements.
Yes.
So whatever property
Totally.
you own
Yeah.
has a zoning classification which grants you the entitlements for that. It might be part of, if you live in the Cottonwoods, then your entitlements are further defined by the development agreement that's been adopted by county commission. Anything not in the development agreement defaults to our zoning code. Okay? That has nothing to do
I think
with
you're missing her point.
I'm saying in future. So if I owned all this land and I said, okay, this is in the general plan, I'm not saying it now suddenly makes that. I'm saying I could come to the county commission and say, hey, I own 200 acres. they're currently own MU-160, but you put in your general plan that you want this to be 1/4 acre to 3 acre lots. That's going to be a lot more density in that area if we're going that route. And I'm being transparent as someone who lives in Mountain Green, we already have a ton of growth happening, and is that opening a door to even more? So that's my question legally,
Well,
and that's my
legally-
concern.
Legally, the general plan is a vision of how the future development should go, according to the county commission, ultimately the county commission, because here in Utah, it doesn't have to go out for referendum, it doesn't have to go out for a vote, it just goes to the county commission.
We had
So,
the- Excuse me, we had the discussion that most of the ground in Mountain Green has already been developed, subdivided, or under a development agreement. There's
there's very little that's
very
not.
little that this affects.
I guess my one piece of input would be have a minimum of 1 acre in those areas, 1 to 3+ acres, because
That's
going
kind
with
of
the slope-
arbitrary, given the fact that a majority of Mountain Green is sub 1 acre. So to set an arbitrary number going forward, only
With
1
water,
acre-
with water and sewer.
Yeah, correct. You would be arbitrarily setting. It'd be like something that somebody in Oregon would do with their urban growth boundaries. Everything inside the urban growth boundary can be so much density, but everything else outside, no. And to me, that's kind of arbitrary. It's a little bit capricious. I think it should be avoided.
But a lot of that land in that zone is MU-160. On our current zoning, when I looked at it, it's currently
Currently.
MU-160 to go from MU-160 to 1/4 acres. All I'm saying, that's a big jump. That's a lot of growth in an area that's over 20. A lot of it has areas that are 25% grade.
But that's not being
Technically-
recommended as
Yeah.
the mountain residential.
Also, to be very clear, the majority of the MU-160 land left in Mountain Green area is Nine Springs Ranch.
Will that give them development rights, though, for 1/3 acre lots if we approve that in the general plan?
Well, they've already filed for pre-incorporation, which means that if the lieutenant governor approves it, then we have no say in it anyway.
Yeah, we
because
talked about that.
it's their own city.
Yeah, I'm aware.
And at that point, we don't have any jurisdiction over it. They'll have 5 years or 6 years or however much time. That legislation allows them to produce, I think it's 100 residents and the commercial and services that they need to support.
Feasibility study.
Yep.
Understood. I'm just saying independently, if that is not approved or they don't go that route, and not even just that, there's other land in there, but anyway.
Well, they already have development potential based on the zoning of the property right now. So they have a certain amount of MU-160. They've got A20. They've got a lot of RR1 already, and they've got quite a bit R120.
I think it was like 800 homes they already have,
They can get somewhere
600 or 800, something
It-
like that. Yeah.
if you don't take the slope into account. Okay. Now the slope map that we have, it's not 100% accurate. It's based on LiDAR data, and there are false returns. So they can contest the map. I'm thinking they probably have between 275 and 600 lots that they could currently now develop without any reason
Taking slope out.
whatsoever. Yep, that they would have the entitlement to do. Right. So there's already every piece of property in the county has development potential because of the zoning entitlements that are placed on it. Whether it's MU-160, F1, A20, whatever. If you've got 1,000 acres of A20, I hate to tell you, but that's a lot of lots.
Again, not arguing any of that. I was just,
But technically with the zone that we're talking, the 1 acre and ½ acre zone, even if there are steep slopes, with codes now that we have, like the planned community, you could take that density and cluster it around, so they could get their full amount
That's correct.
according to the zone, regardless of the slope.
Which would save infrastructure costs.
Yes.
totally, and I
With
think
the-
it'd be
with-
better planning. I'm not opposed to any of that. I'm just saying we're taking land and we're putting in a lot more buildable lots with all the density we already have coming in. If they can come in, any developer, whoever owns that land, I'm saying that. That's my only
Okay.
concern with that land. That's my, rest my case.
The only thing I would change from that statement is it's just a vision of the future and it doesn't provide the entitlements. They'd have to actually come in and change the entitlements, which means it goes through you and the county commission. And there's a public hearing.
But they're gonna probably have more legal grounds if it's in our general plan. That's all. That's my only, and I'll stop talking, so.
Any more?
thought I heard something about the 25% grade, that it could be graded differently. Like if it's at a 25% slope now and they go in and grade it down to a 20% slope and make it buildable, is that possible?
Well, if it's 25% slope, they're allowed to develop it. It's greater than 25% that is not permitted.
Okay. So back to that statement, that a 26% slope, and they grade it down to a 20% slope.
There would be a geohazard study report required. Our code does not say that can be graded down to make it developable. It just prohibits all development on greater than 25% slope.
But it doesn't say you couldn't regrade it.
I'll let you read the code and
I'm
then
just,
we
I'm
can
asking, I'm
discuss
asking. Does it say you couldn't, or?
It prohibits all development on 25%
or
above
grade?
25%.
But it doesn't say you couldn't regrade.
You could regrade it.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Right,
there that
I
says you
mean-
can't.
I don't think they. I mean, you're looking at slopes that are like massively steep, and the cost to mitigate that
Not probable.
No problem.
it's not probable.
So with that again, on the study, if it's a greater than 25%, they are required to have a study no matter.
Well, no, they're required to have a study if there is
Regardless.
geohazard soil, if there's faults, if there's slide areas, if there's slopes greater than 10%. So anything greater than 10%, you're pretty much doing a study, regardless.
Question, who's going to training down in Sandy next week from us?
You going?
I'm going.
I need all the help I can get.
Okay.
Hashtag tiny house.
Yeah.
We're gonna meet up someplace, the Peterson, Park and Ride?
The dirt spot?
Yep.
Yeah. That'd probably be a good idea to try to carpool down. Okay, we can talk about that after the meeting, so.
Did any of you receive email notification, text notification, or phone call from Commissioner McMillan?
No. That,
The reason I ask is this is his third unexcused absence, and our code allows, or there's a provision in there to remove commissioners if they've missed or have unexcused absences 3 or more. So I just needed to know.
that will move on to minutes.
I have a question on our minutes. In the minutes, talks about Nine Springs, where I brought up a question and kind of goes back and forth. And it doesn't say anything about staff stating that the application was still open. Do our minutes typically include staff comments? That's my question.
Sometimes, I mean, not every comment.
I think then for the sake of potential issues in the future, we should say that staff said that the application is still open and waiting next steps.
Okay. That's one correction. Any more corrections?
Nope.
Yeah, Judy, sorry, I wasn't at the last meeting, so if you want to scratch me off.
Oh, that's, here I thought you were, if you weren't.
Yeah, you weren't, because we thought you were in Provo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yes, and you showed up. And you're like, what are you
You're
doing
not supposed
here?
to be here.
And
Yeah.
I was like, sorry.
Judy thought, yeah, Maddie
I
won't
didn't know
be
I
here
was
either.
uninvited. That was funny.
Okay, so ready for a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections. Okay, motion by member Wilson,
Second.
second by member Bishop, all in favor.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by member Bishop, second by member Little, all in